Welcome everyone to this class. Today we are going to look at inequality of two variables. We have solved problems on inequality of one variables. So let us look at inequality of two variables. Now, when we say inequality of two variables, what are we trying to say? It means that the variables are going to be x and y. Okay? Let's take for example x plus 3y greater than equal to 6. Now, this is two variables. You know that in equation, when we have two variables like this, we need another information about the variables to be able to get the values of the x and the y. Now, that's equality. Now, in inequality, we don't need more informations on x and y because we are not trying to find the exact value of x and the exact value of y. What we try to do in inequality of two variables is always to find the region which will satisfy the inequality given or the true values. Okay, at what range of values can we get that can be able to satisfy this inequality? So let me explain that. Okay, it means that what are the range of values of x and the range of values of y that I can put here that will give me greater than or equal to what? 6. Now there is no way to do this problem other than plotting your graph. Okay, but we are not going to plot graph in this class. We are going to sketch. I will just use sketching, knowing that you have already watched our videos on linear graph, so you can be able to use the knowledge of linear graph to solve this problem when you are actually using a graph. Most time in most of the exams, no, they will not ask you to plot it in a graph. You will be asked to sketch it because we just want to know if you have the knowledge of this topic. Now, what am I going to do? Just like we take care of linear graph, is the same way we are going to solve this problem. So I'm going to find the values of x when y value is equal to 0 and find the value of y when x value equal to 0, ignoring the inequality. So I'm going to ignore the inequality just for me to get these values. So I can go somewhere and work that out. So I will say that when s equals to 0, so what is going to be my y? I'm going to have 3y equal to 6. Remember, I said that you have to ignore the inequality just to get these values. So that will give you that y is equal to what? 2. And when y equal to 0, it simply means that this one will go, okay? So s will give you what? 6. So I have x as 6 and I have y as what? 2. So when y equal to 0, s equals to 6, and when s equal to 0, y equal to 6. Now there are things that I would like you to note. When you have strictly, we make use of a dotted line, okay? And when you have the one that is not strictly, which is greater than equals to or less than equals to, we make use of a closed line, okay? So this is very important. Of course, you can see where the inequalities now are coming in, because there must be a way to identify that, yes, this is this inequality or that is that inequality. Remember, you can work this out in your rough sheet to be able to be sure of the values. Now, when you are done with that, you will come to your book, okay? If you have graph, you use your graph. If you don't have a graph, you can also sketch the work. So let me sketch. So I'm going to sketch that, okay? So let's assume that here is 0. Let's take it as 2, 4, 6. Okay, the highest value of y is 2, so I think that would be enough. 2 here, 4 here, 6 here, 8 here. So that's my y and that's my what? X. Of course, I wouldn't need any value here because there is no negative value, but you can just put them there. Now, let's assume that this is our graph. Of course, we are sketching. So when when y equal to 0, s equals to 6. So that will be at this point. Okay, so that will be at this point. And when s equal to 0, y equal to 2, that will be at this point. Now, you are going to use your straight ruler to join these points. Okay, you join these points together. So now you have joined these points together. This graph or this line is your s plus 3y greater than or equal to what? 6. But we are not done, because when you leave your question like this, it simply means that you are solving for equality sign. Okay, let me use equality sign here. Yes, this line only is just showing that you are solving for equality sign, but you have not shown the region which will satisfy this inequality, because that is what we are doing in inequality. You can remember that when we did linear inequality of one variable, we make use of line graph. Okay, we make use of line graph, and in line graph will show you the region. Okay, from here to there is greater than s, or is s less than s, like that. Okay, so that's what we also do here. Now we need to pick a point either from, you can see that our graph has been divided into two, so we need to pick a point either from here or from this part of the graph. What I mean that graph has been divided into two, this line here have cut our graph into two. Okay, it have cut our graph into two, so we now have this upper part and the lower part. So we need to find out which side will satisfy the inequality. How will I know with the side that will satisfy the inequality? All I need to do is to pick one point on this side, or you pick one point on this side and test it in your inequality. If it is true, if the values you obtain is true, then that side that is true satisfy the what? Inequality. And you can identify it by shading it or by leaving it unshaded. So it is your choice, or unless the examiner specify that yes, you have to shade it or you have to leave it unshaded. So let us try that. So I'm going to pick one point. Let me pick when s equals to 4 and when y equals to 4, which is a point here. So this point is 4, 4. Remember, you can pick any point to use to test the truth values of your answer. Okay, you can even, the easiest one to choose here is 0.00. When you put 0.00, most time it helps you to get your answer is faster. Okay, so I'm choosing 0.44. Okay, I'm choosing 0.44. So let me use 0.44 to test my inequality to see if it satisfies the inequality or not. So that will give me, let me work that out here. I'll have 4 plus 3 into 4. That's s as 4, y as 4, greater than or equals to 6. Now we need to ask ourselves, what we have here, is it actually greater than what we have here? So 4 plus 12 will give us 16. 16 is actually greater than what? 6. So it is true that these points satisfy the what? Inequality. That means this region, or this region, the upper part of the graph satisfy the inequality, and the lower part of the graph do not satisfy the what? Inequality. You can shade it and tell the examiner that the shaded portion satisfy the inequality, or you can leave it unshaded and tell the examiner that the unshaded portion satisfy the inequality. But I'm going to leave it unshaded. So if I'm going to leave it unshaded, it simply means that I'm going to shade the other part of the graph. So I'm shading off the part that do not satisfy the inequality. Now, after shading, you can't leave your graph like this, because the examiner don't know what you have in mind. You are the one to tell the examiner what you have done, whether the shaded or the unshaded satisfy the what? Inequality. So I can come here and say, therefore, the unshaded satisfies the inequality. Okay, so that's how we solve a problem of this nature. Okay, so I'm going to solve one more example. So Let's look at this second example. You already have an idea of what we are going to do. All we need to do is to first of all ignore this inequality here, use equation, find the corresponding values of s when y equals to 0, and find the value of y when s equals to 0. Those 2 points will help you in your plotting of your line. Remember, we have less than here, which is strictly, so we are going to use a dotted line or an open line in plotting that particular line. Okay, so let us first of all go and work out our x and y value. So I can come here and say we are trying to find s. Okay, when s equals to 0, y equal to, and when y equals to 0, s equal to. So we are going to work this out and write them here. Then we can now be able to plot or sketch the graph. So that will give us, when s equals to 0, I will have 3 into 0 plus 1 less than 4y minus 3. So this one will go, this one will come over here. I'll have 1 plus 3 less than 4y. So divided by 4, this one will give us 4 over 4 less than 4y over 4. Okay, I said initially that we have to ignore the inequality and use equality. So this and this will go. I will have y equals to 1. So when s equals to 0, y equals to 1. So we need to also find when y equals to 0, what is likely to be the value of x. We have to find when y equals to 0 to find the corresponding value of s. So let's put it back there. So I'm going to have 3s plus 1 equal to 4 into 0 minus 3. So that will give me 3s plus 1 equal to minus 3. This one coming over here, I have 3s equal to minus 3 minus 1. That will give me that 3s equal to minus 4. So when you divide both sides by 3, divide both sides by 3, this and this will go. S will give me minus 1.333, which we can approximate to the nearest one decimal as minus 1.3. So we'll write our minus 1.3 here. So we'll go to a graph which we can sketch, or you go to your graph and plot this set of values. So let us do that here. So s is negative this time around. So we have 1, 2, this minus s, 1, 2, this plus s, 1, 2, these are y, minus 1, minus 2, these are negative y, here is 0. So when s equals to 0, y equal to 1, and when y equals to 0, x equals to minus 1.1. So when you use your graph and count, you are likely to have your minus 1.1 at this point. So these 2 points now will be joined together by a dotted line. So we have our dotted line. So we have our dotted line already. So this dotted line is our 3x plus 1 less than 4y minus 3. So we still need to go and solve to find out where satisfy this inequality. Like I said previously, you can pick any point to use and find where we satisfy the inequality. You can pick the point 0, 0, you can pick any other point from either of the region. Okay, so I'm going to pick point 0, 0 this time around. So I'm picking point 0, 0, meaning that s equal to 0 and y equal to what? 0. So I'm going to put this here and check whether this point will satisfy the inequality. And if this point satisfies the inequality, it simply means that the whole of this region, the down part of this graph, will satisfy the inequality. So let us put that and see what we have. 3 into 0 plus 1 less than 4 into 0 minus 3. So this and this will go. I have that 1 less than minus 3. You can see that this thing is not true. What does that mean is that this region of the graph will not satisfy this inequality. So at any point, at any value of s or value of y that we pick at this point, if you put it here, it will not be true for this inequality. So what does that mean? It simply means that this part will satisfy the inequality. Remember, when you are not told whether to shade or to leave unshaded the region that satisfies the inequality, it is your choice to make whether to say to shade the part that satisfies the inequality or to leave it unshaded. The previous example, I left it unshaded. So this one, I'm going to shade it. So I'm going to shade the part that satisfies the inequality. Remember, from what we have solved, this region did not satisfy the inequality. So I'm going to shade the part that satisfies the inequality. What matters most is that you are going to tell us where. So you have to inform us. So how am I going to inform you? I will write the shaded portion satisfies the given inequality. So when an examiner sees this and read your conclusion, he will be able to understand that yes, the shaded portion is where satisfy the what inequality. What it means is that at any point I pick, okay, let's try it. Let's pick 0.12. Let's pick 0.12 and see whether it will satisfy this inequality. So let's work that somewhere here and see what happens. If you put 0.12, it simply means that this minus 1. So minus 1 and 2. So you are going to have 3 into minus 1 plus 1. Will it be less than 4 into 2 minus 3? So let's find out. 3 into minus 1 will give me minus 3 plus 1. Will it be less than 8 minus 3? That will give me minus 2 less than 5. You can see that that's true. So any point you pick on this region will satisfy that inequality. Okay? So in our next class, we are going to look at system of inequality. We are going to look at system of inequality. Then hopefully we have to talk about linear programming problem. Thank you very much, and remember to subscribe and like the video. Share the video. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.